All right. It appears that we are live, and we are a distributed team today. I'm in Washington State. We've got Morgan here, who is in Boulder, Colorado, and Chris is joining from Austin, Texas, if he does end up making it on the screen soon. But I wanted to make sure that we started and welcomed everyone. Thanks for coming. It seems like we have a few new faces and a few of the regulars. So just to review how this works, we're going to talk about recent update to Misty, go over some news, some upcoming events, talk to our special guest, and take questions. So your questions, you can always post them in the chat alongside. That's fine. You can also post them as official questions in the Ask a Question link at the bottom of the screen. So if you have questions, do that. We will have someone in there sort of monitoring them, making sure that they come to our attention. And you can just say, hey, I got a quick question, and throw it in the chat. We might do this a little out of order because we had some release updates and some updates from Chris at Developer Week. We'll wait for him to join and maybe jump right in to introducing Morgan Bell. This is Morgan. He's the head of engineering at Misty. And yeah, he's agreed to join us today and tell you a little bit about himself.
Yeah, thanks, Ben. I'm Morgan Bell, head of engineering here. My job is basically everything that falls under how. So how the robot gets made, how we design things, how we solve the business problems at hand. That's really what I do day to day. That goes everywhere from hardware design to electrical design. That goes to firmware, that goes through software, APIs, the whole 9 yards. So it's quite a lot of work, but it's a really super interesting gig. It's something I've been wanting to do sort of my whole life. So I'm pretty excited to be here. Like Chris, I've been here since day zero. We were part of the spin out, and Chris and I actually started the very same day when we were part of incubation at Sphero.
Yeah. Very few of the early folks came over, but it's been some of the forming the core team from then on out. We've got a few other questions I wanted to ask you, and I'll just tee them up for you so you don't have to remember. What is your favorite part? You've already kind of asked it, but can you go into more detail about your favorite part of Misty?
That's pretty hard to get to. I've been building robots since I was a very small child. I've been programming my whole life. So this was a dream for me. When they pulled me in at Sphero, this was something I could never have passed up. It's been the thing I've wanted my whole life. So for me, getting robots into people's hands and seeing the way people transform what we do day to day is it gets me out of bed every single morning. I believe firmly that robots will be in our lives every single day at some point in the future, and it's up to us to try and build to that future. So that is probably my North Star when it comes to what I do day to day. Tactically speaking, I really enjoy seeing people innovate internal to the company. I love seeing people on the engineering team take a project and go wild with it. And build something that was far beyond what I could have imagined and better than I could have done it. I really do enjoy seeing that. That's probably my favorite part day over day.
Nice. Does anything cause you heartburn at Misty? What do you worry about the most?
I have a list as long as my arm of things that cause me heartburn. I'm something of a perfectionist, so everything in the world can always stand refinement. Yes. The cadence of things at times causes me a great amount of heartburn. It seems like we could go faster, do more, have more impact, and sometimes it just feels like we force ourselves to do the due diligence and take the time. And it's the right thing to do, but in the moment, it's immensely frustrating. Time of flight sensors cause me a great amount of heartache. We have a love-hate relationship together, the time of flights and I. But we're working through that. We're seeing a therapist. It's going to get better.
Hopefully, yeah. We have seen some improvements on that, but yeah, time of flights, they're really cool. That array of time of flights, I think it has some promising future to it, but getting it
Honestly, there's
working.
so much more we can do with them. We just have to start giving people more tools around them because they're sort of a mystery the way they're implemented right now. There's so much more we could give people tools wise that I think would provide way better implementation exercises than we're doing today.
Yeah. So it kind of goes along with, you lead it into it, but like, what are you most excited about, in Misty's near-term future, Chris?
Hey, Chris.
Um,
Um,
Don't worry about it, Chris. We just rejiggled the agenda a little bit, so
Excellent.
Morgan's talking, and we'll move it over to you in a minute.
Excellent. I'll be quiet down in the corner here.
There's all kinds of things that are new things on the horizon that I'm excited about. I'm excited to give people better tools to build things with the robot because I think that the tools we have today are really great given what they are, but I think we can go further, we can go deeper, and we can do quite a lot more with that. Give people more access to the robot and sort of, take the kid gloves off a little bit. I think that's something that's in the horizon that's really interesting to me. I'm really interested to see things people do with the robot spatially. One of my favorite things about the robot is the opportunity to maximize our use of the spatial data that comes in through the mapping system. I think the 3D data is going to be really, really interesting, but I think it's a really hard nut to crack. I think that there's no abstractions around it, and in today's world, you get depth frames, or you could find a point cloud if you did it right. And that data is super hard to work with, but I think that there's so much potential to what a person will do with that sort of data.
Yeah, people are super keen on that too. I hear a lot of people wanting to use that data for all sorts of use cases. So before we talk about your little friend you've got on the desk there, because many people probably haven't seen a black mat Misty yet, Scott Hakeem asked a question that's sort of related to what you were just talking about. What are the top things that you're waiting for like the technology to get there with Misty, like either with this current Misty or what you'd like to see in future Misties where the technology just isn't there yet?
Yeah, the mapping technology is the one I'm squarely the most interested in. Every technology, one way or another, you could maybe gain access to in other ways, or you could build something up that did some of that. Mapping is really hard. I've made several stabs at that in my life, and I've never had a great success. So I am super excited about mapping and getting that stable and usable in a way where people can start thinking about it. I think there's honestly a lot of thought leadership to go on in the realm of mapping. I think that today people will instinctively hard code coordinates to things, and your XYs, it will be sort of something where people jam it into their skills and make things single purpose. And I'm excited to see the way the community evolves around that in a way that sort of makes navigation abstract in that sense. Sort of looking further afield in the horizon, I really think a lot about the extensibility options that have to happen in robotics over time. The PC market did a great job of standardizing things like, ISA connectors and AGP connectors and PCI Express and all these things that let other companies build upon that base platform. I think that seeing that in the future of robotics and in the future of Misty is going to be really key to getting that extensibility out in the market.
Cool. Scott, let me know if you have any follow-ups. Yeah, no other questions right now. Has there ever been anything you've been like just burning to say to the community? I mean, this is recorded. People watch it after the fact. Like, do you want to give away what like Misty 5 is going to look like?
I wish I could. It's been so hard to get one robot onto the market the way it is. People wildly underestimate how much effort has to go into that. Whatever Misty next will be, you can rest assured we're going to learn a lot from what we've done. The next robot, in my mind, has to be quite a lot larger than this robot. It has to be quite a bit more capable mechanically. I am excited to see a lot more computing power offered in the future. I don't think Misty 5 will be the Terminator, but I hope it's a little more than what we have now.
Yeah.
The Terminator, I hope.
Well, I don't know if Alan's question is directed at Morgan or not, but since you're here, you could answer it. He's asking, are mapping issues that Misty's currently having related to finding its charger? And I would say that they're related.
It's sort of a chicken and egg problem, right? It's very difficult to find your charger intelligently if you don't have a map, right? You could do it with a random wander, right? If you could identify the charger visually, you could do a random wander in a space, and you could eventually collide with your charger, right? Roombas have been doing it for a long time. We could do that. As far as actual mapping issues are concerned, there's a lot of problems. There's a lot of things that make it hard. One of the chief problems we've had historically was hardware oriented, where we couldn't get the bandwidth through the USB 3 interface that we needed. That circuit turned out to be very difficult to design, and the cabling ended up being very, very hard. So we, with the most recent robots, we're over those hurdles. We're in a place where that stuff works really well. We're working on latency issues now. So when you're doing mapping, the process is generally visual inertial. So it's doing a lot to understand what it can see in the room and what movement happens as the robot, translates through space. And so small amounts of latency in that process cause mapping to destabilize wildly. So that's something we're currently working on to try and iron it down so that the latency sort of frame over frame or IMU packet over IMU packet is more manageable. So that's a large portion of what's keeping it back right now. We have an internal build that's really promising, so I'm expecting to see some announcements formally not far in the future.
Yeah, thanks.
Hint, hint.
All right. Chris, I don't know if you have questions. You had any more questions you had teed up for Morgan? We kind of went through some of the ones I had thought of or we had thought of before this. But Morgan, are you okay to hang out here for the rest of the call? And if any other questions come up, take them.
I've got nothing better to do than hang out with robots.
Cool. All right. Well, let's jump back, Chris, to anything that you maybe wanted to say about the release that just happened yesterday, and then maybe give an update on Dev Week.
Yeah. So for those of you with robots, you should have received or will receive here in the next 8 hours probably, a update that we shipped out yesterday. We're getting in a cadence of bi-weekly updates, and I think this might be a question for Morgan to explain how frenetic a bi-weekly update process is, but it's really nice for developers to see continuous new functionality. But we can talk about that here in a second. But the one that went out last night did a variety of things, primarily for those of you that have robots. When you're running skills, some of you might have had the experience of trying to capture a robot that's run away from you and have it either a neck movement command or something along those lines initiate the clutch. So if you pick up a robot that's trying to maintain a neck position and you move that, the clutch engages. So new in this release is that if you grab it by the handle, and I don't have a robot, Morgan, demonstrate the handle for me. There you go. If you pick it up by the handle, the default behavior will now stop all motor movements and cancel the skill that is running at the time that you pick it up. So this does a few things really nicely because we have that capacitive touch sensor in we call it the scruff. Think picking up a puppy along those lines. Because of that capacitive sensor, we can stop the motor movements. You can cancel it. So the runaway robot problem shouldn't be a problem any longer. And yeah, so Scott,
it looks like folks are appreciating that update. I know I hate it when you pick Misty up and she just grinds and is very angry. Although I will program her to like yell out or something when I do pick her up anyways. So.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's kind of it's a nice thing for some people. There is something to be aware of where if you want to reset your robot, if you pick it up by the scruff, by default behavior will be to cancel the skill that's running. you can disable that behavior and just do all the motor movements to stop, but the skill itself might still run. And we can send some links on how to do that for anybody that's interested. But something to be aware of, that if you pick it up by the scruff and try to put it down in the middle of the room and expect the skill to still be running, that won't be the case. You'll have to restart the skill to make that change happen. So just something to be aware of for those of you that are wondering, like, wait a minute, why didn't it start roaming again? The other major update in this release is around the ability to disable certain services while you're doing mapping. And Morgan, maybe you can talk a little bit more to this, but that we do have new endpoints to disable audio service, camera service, SLAM service, a number of other things that might cause interference or at least sap some of the processing power when you're using the intensive application like SLAM.
Yeah, you tend to find that SLAM processes and any vision process is very computationally intensive. Almost all of those processes were originally designed to run, on an Intel i7 class processor, and even in those cases, people are going to stream it through CUDA cores or whatnot to optimize the performance and to make it not just terribly latent. So we've put a ton of energy into optimizing the performance of this on the back end with our partner Occipital. But there's still times when you need more computational power than you've got. And the way it's set up, basically, there is a mother service, and then there's a series of child services that live off of that each perform a specific task. In today's world, what we're doing is offering you the opportunity as a developer to turn those off and optimize towards a single service.
Awesome. So how does that impact our users, Morgan?
Basically, you get more CPU cycles available. The CPU cycles would otherwise be spent knowing that cameras exist or caring about microphones. All of that goes out the window, and you're like, nope, I'm mapping. That's what I do.
Yep. Cool. I just wanted to put you on the spot there.
I see what you're doing.
It's fun to have you on this, Morgan, because now I can throw all the stuff. And I don't know if you saw my chat message, but we're happy to define any word salad terms that come that Morgan tends to use. It's always fun when you casually throw out terms like CUDA cores.
I didn't say synergy, so leave it at that.
Well, we'll work to that point.
Yeah.
But every single one of these releases, there's always kind of the major features and functionality that we roll out, in addition to some of the minor bug fixes. So I don't know about anybody else, but I recently noticed that the volume on my robot is now significantly louder. I don't think if it was this release or maybe previous releases, but now I can play Mr. Roboto at full volume and throw a party in any room that I roam with Misty into. So that was kind of a fun realization. What I've been telling people is just make sure if something doesn't work or if there's something that's like a little glitchy, check back in a few releases, and we're hoping that most of the time those will be resolved. And thanks, Jonathan, for sending out those release notes. If there's more details that you were curious about, some of the more nitty-gritty things that go into each of these releases, they're going to be in the community forums and nicely annotated every single release. But we'll pause here for a second and give anybody a chance to ask any questions about releases, release cadence, just really anything involving that process. Morgan, in your past roles, what was the fastest release cycle that you had experienced before?
Oh, geez. It kind of depends. We had release cycles that were every other day at one point with the company I worked in, because we had just gotten the product just barely off the ground and just barely into the market. And what we know, and what everybody who's been through a startup sort of knows, is that what that means is that you released a third of a product and you're putting things in as fast as you can. So we had an every other day cadence for a while. We were trying to go to a full continuous delivery model, but the process of standing up enough automation to cover our quality was too much. We couldn't get there. So that was we probably did that for a couple of months, and then we had to scale back to biweekly releases.
Sorry, I was not expecting every other day to be the answer. That sounds.
It was
like
brutal.
You might, 99 bugs on the wall, patch one down, release it around, 280 bugs on the wall.
Yeah, but we had regex to help, so.
Oh, good, because that doesn't cause any other problems.
No, the release cadence, the 2-week release cadence with the robot is pretty tough because there's a lot to test, and given the fact that we made all the hardware and all the software, you really have to test on a handful of robots to know that things are okay. So it is a pretty breakneck pace, actually. It's not every 2 days, but it's certainly more than enough to keep us busy.
Good stuff. All right, so I'm going to move on a little bit, and it looks like, did Ben drop off? Ben,
no, I just let you guys be front and center. We don't need 3 faces in black hoodies and black shirts and black hats. So, Chris, I don't know where your hat is, but
mine's gray. Yeah, but good. Your ethereal voice is comforting. So for those of you that's following along, you might notice I'm not in the office in our studio. I'm in Austin, Texas right now at Developer Week, showing off robots and engaging with the number of folks from our Texas customer base. But I just wanted to give a little update on how that's going. It's really nice to see, the people that live out here and come out and actually put a face to a handle. So we met some folks and had good conversations. Justin Wu gave his presentation on how to quickly interact with Misty's development tools. I've got my talk tomorrow about how software developers are future roboticists. If you're in the area, come on down or just let us know and we can give you a ticket. I think we still have a few available if you're interested in coming down and checking out the events. But I think every single one of the team has been just floored at how nice the engagement that we had here. People are asking questions. They're curious about it. There's a lot of people trying to figure out how they can get their offices to pay for multiple robots for them to play with. So we hope that more of you are doing that and talking to your employers, or if you are an employer yourself, think about how a robot could impact your business. But it's been a lot of fun. And we'll have a write-up and post to the forums, some of the pictures and that type of thing.
Yeah. I was trying to figure out a way to post photos into this chat, and there does not appear to be a way to do that. So we will definitely be sharing some after this. We've got a few more questions in here. I'm going to flip to the one that just came in from Mark about any events planned in the Bay Area for the first 2 weeks of December. Fancy that he might ask that question. It sounds like we teed that up, but we actually do have a number of events in the first week of December in San Francisco. If I could figure out how to put myself back on screen, I would, but I cannot do that. And I don't want to mess something up. So basically, we are doing a series of events. We're on the 3rd, we're hosting an event at the Microsoft reactor space up in the city, and the details to that are still a little bit nebulous, but we're hoping to get together with a bunch of Microsoftites, a bunch of other developers in the area, and just hack on Misty for a few hours. We're also doing an event with a game developers meetup, and I should just pull these up right now, but a game developer meetup and a what's the other meetup? Jeez.
Yeah, I can talk about the game developer meetup. I'll be kind of discussing some of the parallels between game development and writing skills for robots, and primarily around I love this, but the concept that robots are NPCs in our world, non-playable characters in the physical world. So I'll be kind of out there talking to some game developers on how we can think about some of these behaviors as they translate into physical devices. So I'm really excited.
That's December 5th too. So yeah, that'll be really cool. I'm super excited to see that. We're going to see if we can get some Twilio folks to come as well, because some of you may know this. Misty is a non-player character in their Twilio Quest game, and so that's kind of cool. So that's the 5th at the reactor as well.
Nice.
Then we got the 4th. Waffle.js meetup, which I guess if you've been to a Waffle.js meetup, there is like singing and like skits and things, and it's kind of crazy. So I'm sure we could figure out some cool things to do with Misty there. That's on the 4th.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, as I mentioned, the 3rd, we'll have another event that's much more Misty focused.
Yeah. That'd be fun.
All right. Start answering that question and done answering. I got to get better at that aspect of running this thing. So now we have a little bit of a pause. There's a question from Michael. He asks, what bugs or features are we focusing on for next release?
Well, there's a handful of things coming out in the next release. Specifically, we fixed a bug around the camera taking black pictures in some cases. So an issue exists whereby if you're running face rec and you try to take a picture from the camera, it was having you can think of it like an auto exposure problem where it was underexposing the picture by quite a lot. That will be fixed in the next release. We have a new audio feature going in, which should be available in the next release, which basically gives you the segmentation of a phrase automatically. So you don't have to record a specified length of sound and then parse out where there might or might not be text. So the conversational aspect should get quite a bit better. And on the...
I'm super excited for that.
Yeah.
That'll be real nice.
And then there is also the first cut of a new SDK that's going in. There's a beta SDK we're getting ready to release. There'll be some more announcements about that coming up, but the code has gone in today, and so it should make the next release train. What else is going in there? Those were the big ones. The new SDK is a really big thing. We put a lot of time into that, so we're pretty excited to see people get in with that.
Yeah, and from experience with the tool itself, the debugging is exceptional. It makes it so much nicer to write skills for Misty now that you can line by line debug with a C# skill. So it's super cool.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah.
So keep your questions coming if you've got them. We'll have time at the end to go through them, I'm sure. So I did want to. I don't know, Chris, if you're gonna say anything more about Austin, but I had just an update on missions.
Yeah, please.
All right, cool. So we just released last Friday the latest mission. These come out right now. They've been coming out about every 2 weeks. We may move to more of a monthly cadence, but we're also keeping some of the past missions open because we know that not everyone's got their robot yet, and people may want to participate in missions. So we are kind of like recycling missions all the time, and we'll probably continue that practice. I don't know, probably all year next year. So this latest one is Misty Dance Off, basically coding the best Misty dance routine, and you'll be able to win prizes if you do it. All it takes to compete is to share your skill, and with this one it probably has to be a video too, in the community forums under Misty Skills, and we'll find it and kind of grade it, I guess, as it were. But the prizes so far have been a Sphero Spark and a SmartThings starter kit with a hub and some light bulbs. So we don't know what we're going to do next, but we want to get people excited about those. The last winner was Morning R in the forums. His name's actually Aaron. He committed a obstacle course challenge skill. So we're looking forward to seeing what everyone else does. So check them out in the forums, all those missions, and you can still compete in them. Oh, I should also say, if you're not familiar with the missions format, they come in pairs. One is a training mission and one is the regular mission. The training mission prepares you for knowing how to do the competitive mission. You could skip it if you want, but I think people have found them helpful. All right.
Yeah, just on the missions, we got some feedback recently that there was kind of a desire for some themes or things that were a little bit more targeted in solving an industry problem. If you in the community have any ideas on things that you'd like to see and maybe have us do a little bit of the pre-work to set up the path towards success in certain industries. We'd love to hear what you guys think, or certain themes that you'd like us to pursue, or any number of missions that you'd like us to kind of roll out and then work together as a community to solve. So be sure to just let us know in the forums what your ideas are. We're happy to entertain those ones.
Yeah, that's really going to be an interesting theme for next year and beyond. Would be like not only competitive missions but cooperative missions that like require more people and more talents to make work. So that'll be very interesting.
Yeah, so we're like Ben said, we're really excited about more of these. Morgan too.
Right. We talked a little bit about those events in the first week of December. We are also going to be in San Francisco at Wired 25. That is this Friday and Saturday. And if you are going to Wired 25, you'll see Justin Wu, you'll see Tim, our CEO, Linda, our CMO. A few other people are going to be hanging out there. So yeah, definitely go and check that out. That event looks pretty interesting. And I think that's all the planned events we have so far, but I know that some things are going to pop up. There's a lot of holidays, but we'll probably do some more events.
Yeah, and we're in the early stages of having a little holiday party in tandem with SolderWorks. So for those folks that are in the Colorado area, SolderWorks is in Westminster. So we'll be doing a posting of that here soon once we kind of solidify some of the details. So again, Colorado folks will be in the area.
Complete with musical guests. I'm not going to announce who, but yes, there will be a musical guest as well. It won't be Macklemore like that Twilio bash, but maybe just as exciting.
Yeah. Snort.
All right.
I'm just thinking of all the local bands that are terrible that would play an event like that.
There's good bands in Boulder.
Say what?
There's good bands in Denver and Boulder.
Yeah.
Gregory Alan Isaac Asimov or whatever his name is. Like I like that guy. Anyways. All right. Did we totally touch on your community element for the agenda, Chris?
Not yet. I for those of you that have followed along, Philip, I know that you've heard this probably a dozen times. Same with you, Scott, and our other loyal Uplink attendees. But we just wanted to call out the community forums. All of us are in there. Morgan is in there. Ben is in there. I'm in there. Our computer vision engineers and software engineers and everybody in the company follows the forum. So if you have a question, if you're curious about some aspect, if you have a suggestion, Jonathan would love to hear your thoughts on documentation. I just want to reiterate that this is really the place where we at Misty are engaging and can answer your questions really, really quickly and get a variety of perspectives on anything from technical considerations to feature requests. Just community.mistyrobotics.com. We post all of our events there. We even have inane conversations about instincts, not inane, but they're fascinating conversations about things like instincts for robots. And then we'll be doing more stuff with, sample code and missions and discussions on things that are more prevalent in the robotics industry. So just check it out. And and Jonathan, the docs are improving. The feedback is greatly appreciated. So we all appreciate that stuff.
There's a question from Jonathan as well. He said, speaking of Waffle.js, is there anyone at Misty Robotics who's particularly good at cooking waffles?
I'm not particularly good at it, but I do try to make them most Wednesdays. I did not do it this Wednesday because the office is like a ghost town with Austin Dev Week vacuuming humans in and Tim being on the road. So we're sort of skinny this week. So there were no waffles today.
Yeah, so for context, Morgan has been generous that every single Wednesday morning he will make waffles at his desk. So if you come into our office on any given Wednesday, it will smell like the delicious buttery goodness of a nice Belgian waffle.
Yeah. Another question from Scott. Any updates on Arduino backpack timing?
Yep. The Arduino backpack PCBs will be released to manufacturing on Monday. So we're working up a couple of timing options now to see how quickly we can get those through the pipeline. It kind of depends. There's a handful of different speeds at which we can make those PCBs. So we've got to make some internal decisions around sort of cost versus time. We're probably going to optimize around time, would be my guess, and try to get those out as quick as we can. I don't have a date yet, but I can tell you that they're on the rails, and they will be released to manufacturing probably Monday, failing that Tuesday.
I can tell you that the support team has been saying December, and I'm hopeful that that's a little bit sandbagging. But yeah, I do believe like hopefully by the end of the year.
Cool. That'll be fun. We've had a few early units that we've been showing some of our demos for anybody that's seen those. So we're excited to get them out in the community and see what other sensors and integrations and different things that you guys out there are going to do with them.
Yeah, that brings up the black robot question too. No one's asked it yet, but we are moving forward with the black robot shipments. I think they are commencing this week. So some individuals will get their black version robots within days, which is very exciting. I'm one of those backers that has a black robot and eagerly awaiting it. So yeah, I'm excited.
Ben, they're way better than the white robots. Just saying.
I have been thinking a little bit about if I can put a scarf on it or somehow color the gray parts. I don't know how I feel about the gray parts, but we'll see.
I've thought the same thing, and the hardest piece is actually the neck, because taking the neck joint apart and because I wanted to paint it, to take the neck joint apart and to paint it is a huge undertaking, and I wouldn't recommend it.
No.
Cool. I just want to thank Lacey for posting the pictures from Dev Week. We're going to continue to post those as we have more.
Mark said that a Stormtrooper decal set is what the world needs, and I tend to agree. I don't know, Mark, if you were around the community forums when we did some decal set like ideation, but you should definitely check out that post because we've been thinking about this for years, probably. What kind of decals would be cool? So, if only Spiro and Star Wars had some kind of history.
Yeah. So for Morgan and I were actually a part of Spiro back in the day, so we know we had a lot of fun with those days.
There were certainly there was a lot of ideation early on. It was really cool to sort of spend the time sort of figuring out where we were going and what we were building, and at the time to see sort of the underbelly of all of the Star Wars franchise. That was pretty cool. You see a lot there.
It's a big underbelly.
Mark, your post from May of 2018 asked about Space Monkey theme and didn't say anything about Stormtroopers. So I think you need to update your vote. Although Master Chief armor would be kind of cool too. All right. So what else we got, Chris?
This is it's a little bit of a light week. I wasn't going to do a code walkthrough or anything like that I really enjoy doing and tends to take up some time, but we've got just a lot of things are happening all at the same time. I've been talking all day, which is another reason why I was hoping for a shorter session this time.
Yeah, it's surprising how tiring it can be just to stand and talk for like 8 hours. So yeah, if anyone hasn't worked at a trade show, highly recommend it. All right. Well, people, my work is done. We've resurrected the decal thread in the forum. So cool.
We can hang out. We can just sit here and talk for like 5 minutes. I don't know how good of television that is. But
see if Lacey or Jonathan have anything they want to share. So
Lacey shared the video of Morgan and Ian discussing some of our tech stuff. So that's a good watch for people that haven't seen that already. Lacey, what other social content do we want to highlight here?
Yeah, I mean, thanking people who are sharing on social. If you know, for folks who haven't got their robot yet and haven't like desecrated all of the packaging and everything else, like Jeff, when you get your robot, take a video of your unboxing. Comment about your first impressions. It would be amazing to see that. So we love to focus attention on those and highlight it. So yeah, share your video, even if it's just on the community forums. But if you're active on any of the Twitters and things, do that too.
We should have a bounty on the first black robot unboxing video.
Ooh, that's good. Ben, do we have a special forum badge that we could potentially do for that one?
It's interesting. They're like just updated the forum badges. So they're all fancy and shiny now. So if you are in the forums and you end up getting a badge, you should take a look at it, because our graphic designer did some stand-up work there in the badges category.
Does that mean that I have badges that might have been updated?
Badges are both automatically and manually doled out. So yes, you have badges because you've been in the forums. And you probably don't have a lot of badges too. So yeah, look for those. We have to get better about doling some out, but yeah, you likely have one.
I have anniversary and thank you. Awesome. Yeah, so for anybody in the forums, if you just go click on your little profile, you'll have your profile, and you can do, is it summary? Hold on. Yep. In summary, there's an area called badges, so you can see all the fun stuff that you've acquired over your engagement with the Misty community. Kind of fun. Autobiographer, campaigner. I've invited users. This is cool.
Unfortunately, I don't know if you can invite users anymore with our Auth0 integration. So sad panda on that one. If you got it, you're lucky, but that's probably a retired badge. Video. Ooh, wait, what? I'll do an unboxing video and change your color to black. I win. I see. You've got a white one, but you're gonna use a Sharpie and like pencil it all in. Okay.
I would personally put a bounty for somebody that works with a like an automotive wrapping company that does the vinyl wrapping to do that with Misty.
We should actually just dig up those the decal sets, although there's probably a little bit more work that has to go into it, but like provide like a print template for some decals or something. That'd be really cool.
Hydro dipping. But take the parts off. Don't do it all at once.
All right,
Chris.
Yeah, it'll help.
The questions are coming in a little slow now. No other questions. Philip is asking about helping with the .NET SDK, so that's good, Philip. We'll make sure that you get access to that. Yeah, it's not too long before everyone will have access to it, but yeah, we appreciate any eyes on it now versus later.
All right.
All right.
Morgan, any closing comments?
If this had been a couple of hours ago, I would be more awake and have something witty. But sort of towards the end of my day, the wit is sort of drained out. I'm at sort of I need a drink hour.
Yeah. I mean, and you don't have that much of a reserve to begin with. It's kind
of... You'll be back here eventually. You know that.
Yep. I know. You realize that you have access to my desk, which is probably not a good thing.
Get access to your email. Don't give me that.
Oh man. All right, Ben, your turn. Right. Pithy closing comment.
Anyone? All right, cool. Well, thanks everyone. Thanks for showing up. We are going to be back here in 2 weeks doing the same thing, but different. Do we want to? Is a preview of the topic that we want to give?
Well, we'll have another guest, which is going to be a lot of fun, and talk about some of the stuff that they've done. So stay tuned.
And if you're ever interested in being a guest, showing something off that you've been working on, let us know as well. We would gladly turn the camera your way.
Says the guy off screen.
Hey, if I was confident that I wouldn't shut the whole thing down, I would try to join again.
Yeah, and so in 2 weeks we'll be back in our little studio space, and have some fun there. So, all right, everybody, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye.